Well, good afternoon, everybody. Bloody hell, 151 of you watching already. You must be looking forward to this. It is, of course, Judgment Day. And as you can see from the thumbnail here, is the thumbnail for this live stream, the moment we have all been waiting for. What I'm going to do is bring Graeme on and we'll get the show on the road. But I just want to read something to you very, very quickly. I'll put this on the screen. Parliament loses its sovereignty when returning officers and their teams appoint MPs through cheating. The electors of a constituency are the true sovereigns, and the Commons is their domain. Once this principle is violated, even once, Parliament's sovereignty is lost. If you are not part of society's governance, you are a slave. Communists don't want you to vote. Think about it. Anyway, that tells you not to vote is collaborating with the enemy. Now, that's a very important principle, which underlines a lot of what's going on here. And I want you to remember that. Without further ado, let's bring Graeme on and say hello. Hello, Graeme. How are you?
I'm very well, thank you.
Wonderful, wonderful, wonderful. Now, what I want to do very quickly, just for the uninitiated, anyone that's tuned into this for the first time, I just want to very quickly go over what happened on the 16th for a minute or two, and then we'll crack right on, where everyone's here so everybody understands totally where we are. So on the 16th of October, as you can see here, this was all of us proper English people outside the Royal Courts of Justice after it happened. There was an appeal hearing. Next week, as you all know, those of you that have been following this, there is an election petition hearing over 3 days where Graeme will effectively prosecute the other side and show the evidence that, inappropriate things happened in that election. They are shitting themselves, for want of a better word. That's why this appeal happened on the 16th, because they wanted to try and get it thrown out, stop that from happening next week on a sheer technicality. And that's all it was, as well as boring the socks off of everybody, which I'm sure we'll talk about. The judgment has come in today. We know where we are. So without further ado, Graeme.
Thank you. Well, Andy, this channel and your audience, every single one of you helped to get the judgment. And when I say that we packed out the appellant court, it was the first time, I believe, in their history they had to open up a second court just to get the people in to watch what was going on.
It was packed, wasn't it?
There was over 90 people there. And the 3 appellant judges were the ones who ordered the other court to be opened so we could all sit there. And again, without the support, the judges can then see that there is public interest in this. This isn't frivolous. This is people, and they knew that people had travelled from Runcorn and Helsby to be in that court and from further afield. So, just to let people know a quick brief. The King's Counsel and other barristers were arguing and going round and round in circles with certain points. They started to aggravate the judge, or judges. So this is a really important thing, people, to learn about law and judges. They are very powerful people. If they exercise their discretion in your favour, they make law in this country, and especially the appellant court. It was apparent to me and to others in that court that the King's Counsel for the returning officer and the barrister, in effect, for Sarah Patchen were aggravating the judges. So I decided I didn't need to do too much arguing, other than to be very respectful and not call them or their judgment or their honour into question. And they retired for since the 16th to create their judgment, and just to keep everyone out of suspense, we won unanimously Not just one judge or two judges, which it would have had to be, but unanimously, the three judges disagreed with the King's Counsel and Sarah Pouchin, and they said the trial on the 3rd, 4th and 5th of November goes ahead. So that is justice.
I'll put that on the screen, shall I? The back page of the judgment so we can see it, and the bit I showed you off air. This is the last page of the judgment. Anybody that's following Graeme on X can see this. If you follow him at English Exit, there should be a link to that in the description of this live. The important things are the conclusion and the bits at the bottom. I would dismiss the appeal. The trial of the petition should, in my view, proceed, which basically means we're going to Chester. I better book the bloody train now. Lady Justice Andrews, I agree. Lord Justice Holgate, I also agree. And Graeme's reactions. Who bloody rah?
Yeah, I wish I could jump that high.
So do I.
So when we get to the cost order, I'll be asking the King's Counsel, when they say to me, how high do you want me to jump? I'll show him that.
I'll send you a copy. Speaking of costs, you told me something off air. Even though you won, they're still trying to get bloody more money out of you. What's all that about?
They are, and I have sent a very polite but stern email back to the appellant court explaining that they should look at the costs order of the last case, because the two previous judges were very explicit. They also stated that the costs from the Royal Mail, for example, were grossly disproportionate. They did everything bar call it fraud. Well, in my opinion, they did call it fraud because they mentioned something else. So yeah, they're still trying to go for the full. Basically, in that email, I finished it with a one-liner, and I said, at any time from when the petition was submitted and prior, because don't forget, everyone listening to this should know one thing, that the judges acknowledged, and the media are not talking about this at all,
no.
That this is not sour grapes. They said Mr. Moore was emailing the returning officer well prior to the election date, to the poll date, about election interference, right? So they accepted there was no, it wasn't a sour grapes thing, and with the various things that we'd been speaking to the police about, and it was all in emails. They read the emails, they showed the parts of the emails in the judgment. But getting back to that, the costs order where the judges reduced the Royal Mail's costs from 80,000 to 12.5 grand. By the way, I'm grateful for this audience, my audience, and the rest of the audience for the GoFundMe. I have paid the Royal Mail's costs, and which were massively reduced, and Cheshire Police. But I've also told them, you're both on notice, this isn't over, because the judges did not say, they said you could not be respondents. They didn't say you couldn't interfere with an election, and that's what the petition trial is about. So the evidence is still being put forward, and the judges can still void the election because of what they've done. Right. So people need to understand, if you look at the totality of the election and how, in a technical term, how impure it was, we need pure common law principle and free elections. And in anybody's words, this was not a free and pure election.
No, it certainly was not. I mean, you had, just for anybody that doesn't know, you had the situation with your election material, which you trusted the Royal Mail to deliver, wasn't delivered, and you had some interference from the local police force as well, trying to muddle in with what you were up to on the street, didn't you?
We did, and all of that evidence is being produced. Also, this thing called a SPoC, which is a single point of contact for election grievances, right? And it's a police constable that is given authority by the Electoral Commission. Again, at the trial, all of that's coming out, including, and this is the bit that people don't understand, the statements from the Federation of Police. that explained the role of a SPoC, right? And also the Electoral Commission explaining the role of the returning officer, basically saying that at any point you are responsible, and if you want to call a halt to an election, being the returning officer, or in his own personal, he's got a lot of power. He didn't have to do any of this. He could have turned around. Don't forget, there's 6 votes in it, right? Mm. I saw 116 votes for me as a candidate.
Right.
They give me 50 votes. They give me 50 votes 9 years prior in another election, and that is statistically impossible.
Mm. What did they say? It was 1,000,000 to 1, wasn't it? So 1,000,000 elections.
1,000,000 elections to 1, and the statistician that used to work for the Financial Times, I believe, and the Times and various other, and his Royal Society of Statistics, is giving evidence in chief, and he's going to explain. So not only has his report gone in and it's accepted as evidence, he's also going to explain to the judges why this cannot happen. So, in other words, there is something seriously wrong, but it is for you to make a decision on what we do about it.
Mm. Well, it's like you said with the bundles. You saw 116 votes, and as you've identified previously, they clip them in bundles of 50.
Correct.
So 66 votes have gone walkabout. You know, it's more than bloody obvious. A very important comment here from Dean. Share as much as you can, everyone. This is important. And I'm willing to hazard a guess that those 5 black flags on the end of your comment are actually England flags. England gets absolutely bloody censored and destroyed everywhere you look. You know, I put England flags in video titles and they never show up. I get all that bullshit that comes up instead. It's ridiculous. But the other thing that's censoring is the mainstream media and other, what I would call alternative media outlets, my fellow creators. They just won't touch us with a 50-foot barge pole. I still can't understand it. This is so big. All we can do is just literally share it everywhere. Social media, friends, talk about it everywhere. You know, we need all voices and all support on this.
So let me be absolutely clear about this. From Wednesday evening, it is highly likely that Sarah Pouchin will no longer be an MP. That's how big this case is.
Oh, yeah.
And when you consider, right, what has actually gone on, right? So when you consider that the mainstream media were all over this particular election like a rash, right? It was wall-to-wall news. Now there's an election petition that can take out the, in effect, appointed and unelected Sarah Pouchin. They haven't touched it. Why not? Because to them, their system of appointing members of parliament is being exposed, and they don't want the public to see that. Right? That's really important that people understand. This is about all of our rights, and if you undermine the supremacy of parliament, and the reason why it is sovereign is because you are sovereign and you elect, not have appointed, you elect your representative to represent your sovereignty in parliament. That's and the Commons itself is us, the people, we the people, and what they're trying to do is destroy that.
Absolutely. I mean, I've been constantly bashing on about English, England, Constitution. You know, I was screaming at the bloody computer earlier because I heard Farage's speech when he was trying to get the ECHR kicked out. And he was saying Bill of Rights and Magna Carta, but he was saying British. They're not fucking British. They're English. You know, this is everything that's getting usurped. And you get people that say we don't have a constitution. It's not codified. You're talking crap. They're all brave. I mean, I loaded these up. I just want to show everybody this. Journals of the House of Commons. Now, this particular thing is quite old. back to the 1700s. But if you bear in mind, the Acts of Union was 1706, 1707. You can see the highlighted passages here. I think this is all 1774 stuff, if memory serves. And you can see Constitution of England, English Constitution, Constitution of England. It's all there. We have a constitution, and everything that Graeme has just described is in that constitution, and it's being willfully ignored, subverted, and they're attempting to destroy it. You could go into regionalisation and everything else.
No, I agree. So regionalisation is crucial. It is a administrative law, European Union or Europe concept to destroy England. Scotland does not have a parliament. It has an assembly. It's a regional assembly, and the people of Scotland. And I want to make this clear to everyone who's listening to this. Yeah, I am with and for Scotland, right? And the people of Scotland. If you knew the history of the Acts of Union, you'll know that within 7 years of it being enacted, within 2 years there was full-scale riots. Right, the Scots sent a 5,000-man army into England going towards that British Parliament. Right, they didn't attack the English; it was the British. Right, so and then it was called into question. They actually there was a motion to abolish the Acts of Union 7 years after its enactment. So this is not new. And people need to understand. I just need to say this. There's a lot of people going out to Poland. Right? I've been out to Poland before. And they're going to their national day, their Independence Day. Right? Just ask this simple question to anyone who's Polish. Are you, and I've done this, are you Polish or are you a Soviet? And they all come back to you aggressively and say, I am Polish. My country is Poland, right? When you ask someone they call themselves patriots, right? The same question, are you English or are you British, right? British is Soviet. It is a unitary state that is controlling the other nations and seeks to destroy them in its own interest. And once people understand that the British Nationality Act of 1948 was a key element, Schedule 4 in particular, that took away illegally, ultra vires, constitutional safeguards. Right. So, in other words, if it hadn't been for the British Nationality Act Schedule 4, you couldn't have Sadiq Khan as mayor. No, you couldn't have all these people as mayors all over the country. Right. And the Bill of Rights forbids Sharia. Right? Why is it that these so-called patriots, right? They're the equivalent of waving the Soviet flag in Poland. What do you think would happen to someone waving the Soviet flag in Poland on their national day?
Yeah, they get the living bejesus kicked out of them.
That's it.
I couple of things just to ram the point home. I had a conversation with a family member of mine, and I said to them, I asked the question, are you British or English? I'm a British citizen, they said. I said, well, where were you born? And they said, Birmingham. I said, where's Birmingham? The Midlands. Well, where's the Midlands? England. So are you English or British? I'm a British citizen. I've got a passport that says so. So I told her about the British Nationality Act, and I asked her again, it's just education. And on my X account, you talk about Russia and everything. I did a thread on there, and I said, if you look at all of the countries that made up the former Soviet Union, Russia, and I think Belarus is the other one, are living as independent nations with their own constitution and their own rule of law. And then all the other countries that make up the former Soviet Union are trying to be strange bedfellows with either NATO, the EU, or both. And we see a history of what happens with political unions. They fall on their arse.
And again, without so why it's relevant to the conversation we're having now is one of the things that the English Constitution Party stand for, and we have Scottish members, Welsh members, Irish members, Northern Irish members, we have Cornish members. We stand for self-determination. It's the number one human right. So what you're actually looking at is again, look at the EU and what they've just said. I'm not sure if people have realised. They've actually said we seek to destroy Russia and balkanise Russia.
Saw that.
That's exactly what they're doing with England. 9 regions of England. It is a stepping stone to the New World Order, which is globalisation, where everyone is one and you become the slaves.
That's right. That's right. I mean, that's actually what prompted me to do that thing on Russia in the first place. I think it was you that sent me that video. I thought, bloody hell. It was mad, absolutely mad. Going back to next week, where are we with that? What's the plans? How much can you say without giving the game away?
Well, there is new material, so I haven't stopped, and a lot of this is thinking, right? So my brain has been literally just on this. There's certain things that we're doing. We have a very strong case. I won't say too much on who I have approached with it, but they have said to me, you have got a very, very, very strong case for getting an independent ballot recount. And if they take all of the events into account in totality, you've got a very good chance of them, for the first time in a long time, annulling the election. In other words, the whole thing has to be done again. And that is why Sarah Palchin from Thursday of next week wouldn't be an MP at all. But people need to understand that Sarah Palchin had the opportunity to stand back, say nothing because she was respondent, because she had to be, but she didn't. She tried to get it struck out. I believe she's very worried. I believe she knows it's corrupt, and she doesn't care. And therefore, reform are not the answer. Right? No. They should have stood back and said, you know, we don't want no part of a corrupt election. And instead, they've in effect encouraged it. And they tried to whack me with 22 grand's worth of costs. By the way, they lost. So although they're still trying to get them costs back, that's nonsense. And we intend to prove that. And so the GoFundMe that we've got is still valid. We still need more money coming in. And don't forget, my name is not a certain person who's just gone out to Israel and got a villa in Spain and's got an Irish passport and gets all these massive rallies going, etc. I don't use your money for anything else other than what it says, right? And again, I don't give, none of this money is going to our legal team. The legal team is me, hundreds of people like me, including your audience, some of whom have sent me emails with various clips and elements which were really interesting. So again, I just want to thank everyone. I've got to make sure people understand this. This channel, LSB Studios, I think it's Mark Atwood, Sean Atwood, Charlotte on Twitter, Iconic for another example. Many of these people have helped push this and get it in the public eye, right? You're what I would regard as alternative media, right? You are telling people the truth. No one in the media wants to tell you what's going on because they're trying to hide the fact. The media are corrupt, right? To the core. They're just as corrupt as the politicians. They're getting hundreds of thousands of pounds of your money, right? And when you promote this and promote the GoFundMe, it is a massive relief. I mean, without the assistance, we've just paid two chunks, so 12.5 grand, and the major, so like, you know, 25 grand, and it's all just gone straight over, bang. I even asked them for a receipt. One of them come back and said, we can't give you a receipt. I said, you will. One way or the other, because I've got the emails. I can show people will know, but it's not gone to me. It's gone to them. But eventually, we'll get that back.
Well, I remember right at the start of the thing when you served all the papers, you had a photograph with everything and the initial check, which I think was what, about £5 grand, £5.5 grand, something like that. It
and
was.
I paid that out of my own money, right?
Yeah.
You wouldn't get someone like the let's call him the expat. There seems to be a serious problem with expats, but you wouldn't have got the expat doing that.
No. I want to show people the GoFundMe because, as you said, it's very important that this isn't forgotten because this is still ongoing. And even though Graeme has, effectively won this appeal because they've dismissed it, they'll still try and hammer him with a load of bloody costs. It's unbelievable. I mean, you can see there, £32,807 has been raised so far. I think when we first started pushing this, we managed to get 25 grand raised in about 24 hours or less.
Correct.
That's how massive this is. And you knocked 25 grand off that figure. That's how much Graeme had to pay to the court. When was it? Monday you had to pay that over?
Yeah, no, I had to pay it, and I paid it all Monday. So again, that's what I'm saying. If people don't realise the public interest, because and especially the alternative media. I don't know who's paying the alternative media. I know 100% you're one of the safe channels. LSB Studios are another one. Again, we've all got to come together. And can I just make sure? So don't forget, we just had a massive win, right? So the appellant court is the second highest court in the country. It's actually the highest court in England, right? Those same judges then go on to be Supreme Court judges, not just for here, but for the other nations that are associated with England as dominions, right? Not as colonies, but as dominions. But I do want people to understand how big a win this was, right? They lost unanimously. The three appeal court judges, all three of them agreed with me, right? So we showed that on the screen. Not once did I say to any of them judges, read me your oath, right? Not once did I show disrespect to them judges or that court. Not once did I say I'm a living man, right? And the difference is you've got to understand it's your job. If you're standing, especially for people, right, which I am standing for everyone who's watching this, you must be as respectful as possible because it is your job to persuade the judge that you are right. And that the people that are helping you and funding you and supporting you in that court, they are the good guys, right? And once you can convey that to the judge, it makes it very difficult for them to they will find a way of making sure they can assist you.
So, I mean, one thing that I was really struck by, sitting in the corner of that court with my knackered knees trying to listen to what was going on, was, you are not a British solicitor. You are not a senior King's Counsel or anything like that. You're just a geezer that's read law for 30 years. You went in there and won a case against, very senior people. It's education, isn't it?
Education is key. It is why the slow march through the institution started with our universities. It all stems from the universities. And once people understand that the London School of Economics, a Fabian University, Oxford University, Cambridge University, there's many others that are corrupt to the core with indoctrinating communism throughout our systems. And once people realise that's what's gone on, think about who trains the media. I'm talking about the mainstream media. Who trains them? Universities.
Yeah. Right. Full of Fabians.
Right. So then look at yourself as an alternative. Emma Dunley, right, is another one. Fantastic young person, right? Yeah. She's going out there showing people with a camera, like yourself, this is what's actually going on. I can't remember. Is it EY Audits? Another fantastic guy.
AY Audits, I think.
Audits.
I know you mean.
I've watched him quite a few times. Highly professional, normal everyday geezer. This is how it is. Tell them what the law is. Be firm, but you don't need to raise your voice. You just need to stay calm and tell them what the law is. That's exactly what you're doing in the High Court. So everyone needs to understand this stems from the universities, because the slow march through the institutions started in the universities, and it went back prior to that, without me getting in detail on this particular show. But when people realise how much indoctrination has been out there, we need critical thinkers. And there's so many people out there that are not critical thinkers. They've been, it's an old saying, dumbed down. What they mean is the critical thinking element of your brain has been almost removed, right? And you've got to start thinking critically about everything you're told.
Absolutely. I mean, I've seen a couple of comments. I'm not going to put them up on the screen, so I don't want to show the people up, but they're saying, hang on a minute, I'm a fan of, or I like. That's fair enough. And you know, it's a case of you take everything you're seeing at face value, take a step back and think about it. You know, is what they're saying right? Is it true? Why are they saying it? I think what NYPD fella I know said who, what, where, why, when, or something like that. You know,
exactly that. That's the old way of teaching journalism. But a direct point to that is, someone once said to me, separate the information from the information giver.
Yeah.
Right. If you can do that, so you can look at what the person's saying critically without thinking, I really like this fella, right? Move it to one side. Look at the information he's actually providing you with. Look at what he's doing. Look at who's funding him. Look at who has just paid for them to go to X, Y, Z. Where have your funds gone? Who has paid for the villa in Spain? Right? Why is he? Why would someone? The EU is communist, by the way. It's not Nazi. It never has been. Right?
No.
So when people actually realise, why did he move from England and get an Irish passport? Why did he move to Spain? Right? Which is in effect still part of that communist system. The only country that started to move away is there's about 3 or 4 of them that are close to it, but one is obviously Poland, and Donald Tusk, right? Donald Tusk is probably the most corrupt politician ever, second only to Joe Biden. And he is in charge of Poland, or was in charge of Poland, right? So when everyone starts to realise, again, I've said it during this once already, but if you're going to go out to somewhere like Poland and cheer on their patriotism and cheer on their Polish flag, right? Ask a Polish man or woman the question, are you Polish or you are a Soviet? And they will growl back at you and tell you they are Polish, right? And if you ask the same question here, it's the same principle. Are you English, Scottish, Welsh, Northern Irish, Irish, or Cornish, or are you British? Right? And the reason you have to write by law on every single form, British, right? And you're not allowed to say English, Scottish, etc., is because of the British Nationality Act 1981, which was an extension of the British Nationality Act of 1948. That is what makes you British. And the last person to do that was a guy called Joseph Stalin, who was the Commissar of Identity in the USSR.
There you go. I'll tell you what, every time I can get away with it, I see British on a form, I cross it out and write English. Yeah, but you do the same. Talking of content creators, I'm seeing an awful lot of content creators online today more than others, basically saying there's going to be a civil war. It's all going to kick off. It's going to go mad. And I still believe in the idea that we can lawfully and peacefully find a way out of all of this shit we're in. And one of the fundamental underlying tenets of all this is our ability to vote in free and fair elections. And I don't think that people realise the gravity of this situation. And if Graeme wins next week, what impact that would have, or the implication that would have on any election ever in the whole country. You're talking any election, because they're, you know, widespread cheating going on everywhere. So this really, really, really needs sorting out.
This is so you've hit the nail on the head. Why are they talking up a civil war? Because they need a civil war to produce another revolutionary constitution and convention, right? It's always precipitated by a civil war. They want that. They need that. And they need that to create what they want to. A bit like what they did in Southern Ireland, the Republic of Ireland in 1937. The Fabian Society rewrote their constitution. That's why they're in the state they're in now, right? And it wasn't the English that did that. It was the Fabians. It was the Marxists. It was the communists that did that, right? So again, people need to be truly aware of what Andy has just said to you, right? If you take away the ballot and a free election, and then you take away access to the courts, what is left, right? Well, to take up arms lawfully, the English can jump all through the hoops and they can lawfully do that, right? But really and truthfully, what you need to do is look at that behind me. That's not a green screen. They're real law books, right? Study the law, understand it. If you're in retirement now and you really do want to protect your grandchildren, start reading the Constitution. Go to the Hamlin lectures. Read Freedom Under the Law by Lord Denning, the very first lecture. Read the others. You know, I just happen to have them there, right? Constitutional Fundamentals. So William Wade, one of our greatest scholars. Trial by Jury, Lord Devlin, again, one of our greatest judges. Sir John Laws, recently deceased, the Common Law Constitution, all Hamlin lectures, all free of charge, all put in trust by a lawyer who died very wealthy and said, I am leaving this trust and the knowledge of the law to the people, right? And people need to understand that the law is there. And remember that the law says that Britain is a unitary state, not a country. The countries are England, Scotland, Northern Ireland. Wales is a principality. It can easily return back to being nationhood, and I absolutely promote that. But people need to really understand. Anyone promoting violence, I'm not saying I won't fight, right? I will die for this country, but I am telling you that's what they want. And the more of us that group together and can persuade some of these other people, some of them I think are lost completely and only ever have been in it for a pound note. I'm not in it for a pound note. I could die at pauper as long as I've done everything possible for England. I don't care.
I mean, you talk about money and content creators and all that, how YouTube works. I do a video, I do a live stream. They put an advert somewhere in it. I get a percentage of that revenue. That's how it works. That's all I get out of YouTube. I have to do it, you know, have to be paid for my efforts. But then you get other sources of revenue, which won't, you know, just you've got to do it.
So a simple thing, and again, this is not me having a pop at a certain expatriate, because expatriate means ex-patriot, right?
Yeah.
That's what it actually means, right? You've left your nation. You've deserted your country, right? Just to make sure everyone's clear on this, right? Who paid for the masses to get to London on September the 13th, was it? Who paid for a certain expat to go out and do a little whatever he did in Israel, right? And people need to understand, even Charlie Kirk, right, who I have complete admiration for, may he rest in peace, right? He voiced that he started to talk against certain people and he was concerned for his life. Some people will betray their country and some people will stand up and say what's got to be said, right? No matter what the cost. And Charlie Kirk was one of those. So when you look at people like any expat that is not living in this country, that's being allowed to control and influence, you should have very serious critical thoughts about their motives. And I'll say it again, separate the information from the information giver, which is why when I talk to people, I'm talking to people, I teach people, and I show them literally where it all comes from. In other words, I'm not making it up.
Absolutely. Proof's in the pudding. Clive, the difference is you actually give a shit about England, Andy. You're damn right I do. It flows through my blood. I you know, up until a few years ago, I'm British. You know, I have a British passport. I was like the relative I had. But when you start realising what's going on, you know, England and everything around it, the constitution and whatnot, it's the solution to a hell of a lot of our problem, and that's why they're trying to rip it up. What I want to do, Graeme, is just have a quick look at the comments, and then we'll wrap it up if that's all right, because I think we've gone as far as we can do with this. Where are we? Mark, fantastic news and good work. The whole country needs to get behind this. I've watched Farage in Parliament yesterday with a bill. He wants to repeal the Human Rights Act of 1998, ECHR 2. This winds me up when people clamour about the ECHR. Number one, we're deferring to a foreign state and their bloody rules, which is against ours. And ain't there something called the Bill of Rights? I remember a video of you, Graeme, where you actually stood there with one of the law books off the shelf behind you and read out all of our rights right out of a law book. We've already bloody got it.
Yeah, and we ceded the United Nations Declaration on Human Rights. We ceded the European Convention for Human Rights. And when you look at the English Bill of Rights, which is law, it is constitutional law, it cannot be repealed. And when you look at that, we have a supremacy clause. And the supremacy clause says no one can govern the English but the English.
Yeah, totally. And that's being ignored as well. There's a lot of people that are accountable for an awful lot of stuff, and justice will catch up with them one day. Mark, thank you very much for the £2 super chat. Very much appreciated. Who else have we got? NJ, I have a constitutional right to have my vote recorded correctly, and which cannot be, by definition, denied or interfered with in any way. 1703 case. Assuming you're referring to Ashby versus White. What happened in Ireland, I did a video on it of all the sport votes, where the number of spoils outnumbered the number of votes for the winner. And I think they weren't in any way. There was a video which I saw where you had the deputy returning officer with a rejected stamp, and then you had someone else thumbing the ballot papers off, and they're going rejected, rejected, rejected. And I slowed that footage down and I looked at how they were spoiled. And you know what? There wasn't a single one of them that was spoiled correctly. Not one of them said, I do not consent, Ashby versus White. It was like, fuck you, none of the above, useless, all the rest of it. I thought, again, it's down to education. People need to know.
Agreed.
Robert, the decision will be made using not in the public interest. Simply put, if corruption is proven, we will not be told. Do you think there's a danger of that, sweeping it under the carpet, or is it too big they can't ignore it, Graeme?
That's why the mainstream media are ignoring it. That is why the alternative media, or so-called alternative media, are ignoring it. But this case, don't forget, we actually sent a registered, and it was done in a specific way. It was a legal document. It cost 49 quid, and we sent it to the Secretary of State in the United States of America. And at the original hearing, 2 Americans turned up and actually declared that they had an interest in the case, and that come from the usher. So when you put things in place and people are watching from outside of what's going on, that's why, in some ways, Nigel Farage has cut his own throat. And Reform UK have cut their own throat with trying to get this thrown out on technicalities, because corruption doesn't solve corruption. No. The rule of law does.
Absolutely. And we're proving that in droves. Lady Sophie, so they should be fraud, and so they should be. Fraud is unacceptable, especially in elections. Absolutely, and it will be found out. Paul reposted this stream. Thank you, Paul. Sharing is caring. Everybody that's watching this, share it. If you're on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, wherever you happen to be, just get it out there everywhere. We need to, get as many people knowing about this as possible, especially if you're in the Chester area or can get there. We'll talk about that right in the end. Russell Jaros, the English country is governed by a constitution, which is governed under common law. This subversion is going on in all Western countries. Bloody right it is. There's a very big agenda at play. William, what can we do when a government is not fit for purpose and is conspiring to make the indigenous population incapable of being English? That's a good question. My answer is get out and bloody vote.
Exactly. They fear. If you looked at it logically, if everybody actually voted, the mainstream parties would have lost. You've got to remember your ballot, and again, Ashby versus White 1703. It is your property. They cannot steal it, whether it is a right or a physical property. The state cannot steal it, and that is exactly what they've done in the Runcorn and Helsby trial. That's what's going to be proven.
Absolutely. Jonathan has become a new YouTube channel member. Thank you very much, Jonathan. I appreciate the support there, and welcome to the club. Russell again, the plebs are too ignorant to read or even acknowledge there is a constitution. The ruling class wants us to be ignorant to the corruption going on, globalist agenda, active subversion. That goes back to education and also separating the information from the information giver. Everything we talk about. I mean, Graeme has been reading law for 30 years. I'm playing catch up. Everything I get is either from stuff I'm past or it's out there in the public domain. If you know where to look at it, is it Exeter University that have got all the Hamlin lectures online? Is that where it is?
Yeah, and they passed over the database holding the lectures to Cambridge University, and Cambridge University restricted access to it. And we as our group, the English Constitution Society and English Constitution Party, in our hundreds, complained to the trustees. The trustees said, thank you for telling us, we didn't know, right? And they went out and said, this isn't right. The trust says this, and that must be full access to the public, free of charge. Right.
Yeah.
And they brought the whole lot back online again.
Yeah, wonderful. Andy, the ball is rolling in English channels. Thanks to you, buddy. I will not rest until I see a politician standing in Parliament that genuinely says, I am an English politician. That's the goal. We need that to happen one day. I hope I live long enough to see it. I've got a bit of time left yet, by the way. Clive, if only the pawns would wake up and realise just how absolutely powerful they are bound together. The more people know what's going on, the more powerful we become. Clownwell YT, down with the... That's just his sense of humour. Don't worry about that. Hello, mate. Another one of my friends on YouTube. Please subscribe to Clownwell YT if you haven't. Why he's not on 100,000 subscribers by now is a bloody travesty. He's not far away. John Jacks, yes, let's let Lapper in and eject reform, you fucking melt. Oh, here we go. How do you know Labour nicked your poultry votes? I thought many moons ago you were against reform. Farage in particular makes you hypocrite. I've got two words to say to you, and Graeme knows full well what they are. Fuck off. I can't really say any more than that. Last comment. Juicy Lucy. Everyone needs to learn how to be English again. It's so simple. The English Constitution is the solution. Yeah, absolutely wonderful comment to end on. Well, on Sunday, I've already booked the hotel. I know you've booked the hotel as well. I think we're actually in the same bloody hotel. I'm travelling up on the Sunday, the day before everything kicks off, and going back on the Wednesday. I've got to be back in my area Wednesday night for Thursday, and it's going to be a bloody busy few days, isn't it?
No, it is indeed, and I've still got lots of work to do and trying to get, whether we're going to get the paperwork printed by the time the trial starts on Monday, I don't know, but certainly there's still a lot of thinking to do, a lot of stuff that we're putting together. So yeah, but it is really important. They give us the biggest court. It's really important for people to come along to the hearings. If you can get there, get there. If you're local, even better, especially if you're at Runcorn and Helsby, especially if you voted for us. The more of you come along, and you're literally in a public gallery. So it is about you, and it is about your rights. And this is crucially important because it's about freedom of elections and purity of elections. The police interfering, the Royal Mail interfering with elections. Again, the returning officer, the count being completely crooked and an illusion in effect. And once you're appointed and not electing members of parliament, you're no longer a citizen, you're no longer a subject, you are a slave.
Absolutely. Well, I'm going to be up there, as we've already discovered. The mainstream media are doing absolutely fuck all about this, not covering it at all. I'm sure they will be eventually when they smell a good story. I will be covering as much as I can every day with live streams, snippets, and everything else. So I'll try and keep you as well informed as possible. I don't think any filming's allowed in the courts, though, is it, Graeme? I had to sit there with my dog and bone and live tweet in the corner, the last one, to try and let people know what was happening. So, yeah, we'll do as much as we can to get you as much coverage as we can. Is there anything you want to say before we have it on our toes?
No, the only thing I will say is the Constitution is the solution, and I want everyone to know how grateful I am for their support. There is nothing special about me. I am a normal working geezer. If I can do this, you can do it. If you're in retirement, start reading the rule. Look, get away from all this nonsense you're seeing that's coming out from all these different people who are actually communists, and learn the rule law, and you can't go far wrong. Claim your rights. But that's it. Grateful for everyone's support.
Wonderful. Well, please, as I said, make sure you share this everywhere, far and wide. Subscribe to the channel and hit the like button. That helps with the algorithm spreading this about as well. And that's me done for the day. I think this is my third and final one for the day, and I'm sure I'll be back tomorrow. So until then, I'll see you soon.